Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. When the first day of Trials of the Ancestors happened, I put out a guide as to the things I'd learnt so far about the league mechanic and the ways that you can start beating tournaments. However, since then, there's been a few things that I've been able to refine in that. In this video, I want to outline some of the main things I've learnt since day one, but if you do want to check out that day one video, I'll link it down in the description below. We're not going to retread all the ground in that, but we will very quickly summarise. So firstly, you will fall behind in units because the further you progress into a tournament, the more units your opponents will have and the stronger those units will be. The units are individually pretty weak, but in numbers they become threatening, and some of the more advanced ones can be really devastating. Now there's a couple you want to really watch out for, and it wouldn't surprise me if some of these get nerfed. One of them looks like a giant tortoise, and it is just an inexorable wrecking ball because you can't slow it, you can't stun it. There doesn't seem to be much you can do other than just whittling it down with DPS, but once you have knocked it out with DPS, it's just going to respawn and come back for you. If your opponent's team has these are the most important totems for you to target with a banishment. The next most deadly unit you'll come up against is the Goliath of Night. Now these are wielded by the Rongokurai tribe in increasing number. The longer that the tournament goes on, the more of these that will be fielded by the Rongokurai tribe. These things have a terrifying capacity to overwhelm physical damage reduction. So if you've got a character that feels pretty tanky because you've got 30,000 armor, maybe even 50,000 armor, but then you go up against the Rongokurai tribe, you'll find that these things will tear you apart. I know that even at monster level 75, they were one-shotting me, and at the time I had about 35,000 armor and 4,500 life. Note there are player defenses that stand up a lot better against heavy physical damage overwhelm. For example, a character with a large hybrid buffer of both life and energy shield that might be empowered by the Corrupted Soul Keystone, a character with a huge energy shield buffer that is empowered by the Chaos Inoculation Keystone, or a player that shifts physical damage into elements potentially empowered by Lightning Coil will stand up a lot better against these than a pure armor-based character. The main thing is that you need a way that you can tank that slam, or that you can otherwise neutralize those Goliaths of Night. They are really scary. And the best way to neutralize them is actually to go up against the Rongokurai really early in the tournament. The earlier that you face the Rongokurai, the less units they're going to have. Now for some of you watching this, you might be using a Lightning Coil type defensive setup, and in this situation, you might actually not be very scared about physical damage overwhelm. You might find that the Rongokurai are somewhat of a buy for you. I personally find a couple of the tribes to be very easy. Ramako tribe basically can't do much to me at all, and the same applies to the Arangui tribe. These are the easiest ones when I go up against them, and I consider them almost free wins. But what you will want to do is try to engineer a situation where the tribes that you consider to be buys, you don't go up against them until quite late in the tournament in order to try and keep them around as long as possible. Because the longer you progress into the tournament, the more units you'll have, the more units your opponents will have, but this will favour your opponents more than it favours you. And that's because you're the star of your team, whereas the NPCs will get some fairly powerful side units as well as their team leader, and they seem to be able to build up more than you can yourself. So with all of that in mind, keep in mind which of the NPCs you find the hardest to defeat. For me, it is Rongokurai first, Namahu second. These are the ones that are genuinely scary. I want to eliminate them early in a tournament where this is plausible. If it's possible, I'd like to take out Kahutuaroa and also Kaum as early as possible in the tournament, with a focus on getting the Rongokurai out first. Now, there's a whole bunch of balancing factors you've got to try and weigh up here. For example, the Rongokurai tribe have significantly less that is offered in terms of sponsorship if I beat them than Kaum's tribe will. Kaum's tribe will offer a total of 1,750, whereas I'm only getting 1,250 down here for the Rongokurai. And it is also possible that the Rongokurai could lose their first round match as well. With this particular tournament, I would be inclined to firstly check if there's any of these rewards that I think are particularly great, and in this case the answer is nothing. The best of the base game items is probably a stack of 3 Chaos Orbs, which is nothing to write home about. If there was, however, a stack of 5 Awakened Sextants, I would probably take that instead. Once we've decided that we don't really care about any of these rewards, we're going to focus on the best overall package for progression further in the tournament. And here, I think that's going to be to go against Kaum first. Kaum will be a difficult fight, but likely one that I can beat. And once I do that, I'll be able to buy units off the Velako tribe, Kitava tribe, and the Tafoa tribe. And that's going to put me into a much better position later to go up against the Rongokurai. But I want to get the Rongokurai out of the tournament as soon as possible. So round 2 and round 3, in the absence of any really strong incentives to do otherwise, I would be tempted to try and knock out the Rongokurai straight away, to nip them in the bud before they're able to build up. Anyways, those are the additional tips that I've come up with. If you missed the first video, I will link it in the bottom left corner of the screen here, so you can have a look at that if you want some more information on the way that these tournaments work and the basic strategy that I had before these additional nuances to it. And undoubtedly, more is going to get discovered because there is a lot of depth to this mechanic. Anyways, that's all I've got on this. May your Varlobs have interesting results, and I will see you around.